We all carry around a lot of things, habits, ideas, opinions, some worth keeping and some are worth rethinking. My name is Will Nash. This is Talking Trash with Will Nash. And today we are going to unfold another conversation about this. So let's just get right to it. We're welcoming back to the podcast, John, of course, from Cambium. It's so good to have you here again today. Thank you
Thanks.
so much for being here.
Thanks for having me,
Yeah.
Will.
I like your shirt.
Thank you.
I love your shirt. It totally stands out. Now, the last time we started to dive into this a little bit that you were here, but I feel like I just want to take it like that step deeper and just see where it takes us when it comes to you and your background. You are a waste management planner.
Mhm.
You've been in this sector for a very, very long
Yep.
time. You bring a lot of stories with you also. And one of the things that I think is maybe a misunderstanding is the concept of recycling, of it maybe not necessarily being a waste problem, but more so being a people problem.
Mhm.
I know at first that kind of jumps off the page. What do you think are some of the misconceptions when it comes to recycling being a waste problem?
I mean, recycling is a waste problem because
Mhm.
it is something that people are discarding, but it is people
Mhm.
who are discarding it. People are choosing to purchase things in the store, choosing to consume that, and then choosing to throw something out. And so we as waste managers need to think about how people go through their day,
Yeah.
interact with those packagings or products that they're consuming and needing to throw out, and making sure that there are tools available, whether it be
Mhm.
bins, signage, etc., so people can properly sort their waste and we can get as much recycling happening as possible.
Which is interesting because it's also, you had talked about, people are consuming what they're consuming. They're purchasing what they decide to buy with their hard-earned money. Are there items that maybe we could second guess a little bit on purchasing in terms of helping with like the flow in the different streams of, recycling and composting and waste management? Or, I mean, or do you not want to make that call? Like,
Well, it's interesting because I've talked to many people who will pride themselves on, I've put 12 blue boxes out at the end of my driveway.
Yeah.
And like, that's fantastic. I'm glad you recycled that much.
Yeah.
But I do wonder why you have that much recycling. Right?
How many people live there?
How many people live there? If it's a family of four, you've got that much recycling, I'm going to assume there's probably a lot of bottled water. This is an assumption on my part without looking in your bins, but I'm going to guess that you're making a choice to buy something when you could drink your tap water in most places in North America. Um, so it really does come down to consumer choice. So when you are shopping, you are trying to think about, is there minimal packaging on
Mhm.
this item that I'm buying? Can I buy in bulk so I don't have as much, or that I don't have as much packaging in the grand scheme of things? Can I buy better things that are going to be more durable and last longer, as opposed to something that's going to need to be thrown away more quickly? And
Mhm.
even things like fast fashion. Textiles is becoming a very hot topic in the waste management world. So can you think about buying clothing that's going to last a lot longer and not need to be discarded after one season?
And that's a good point too, because sometimes I think that, and I've been guilty of this also, you're doing a little bit of shopping and you look at that price tag and you're like, ooh, that's a little more than I wanted to spend on the sweater that I'm wearing.
Yep.
But sometimes, maybe not every time, but sometimes that means it's going to last longer, right?
Yes.
So it's as compared to buying something that's maybe a little less expensive, and everyone has their own budgets that they set up for
Absolutely.
themselves. But that if a shirt, and hopefully in 5 years, I'll still be able to wear it.
Yeah.
It's like one of those things where it's like, I feel less guilty myself about purchasing something with a higher price tag if I know. I mean, obviously, if it's good for the economy, the
Yeah.
circular economy, but also if I know it's going to last longer.
Absolutely. And I think things that are going to last longer are going to be in the circular economy longer. So
Mhm.
when you think of a vintage store, a thrift store, those items that were made longer ago have a longer shelf life, a longer
Yeah.
life in your closet because they were meant to last. And fast fashion doesn't do that, unfortunately. It's meant to be discarded relatively quickly. It's thin and inexpensive material.
Yeah. Well, and that's just it. And I think the other thing that you kind of touched upon a little bit before, the whole concept of the water bottles, the amount of water, plastic water bottles
Mhm.
that are in your curbside blue bins, is one thing that I believe I mentioned on a past episode of this podcast. But I think it's just fantastic that a lot of places are doing this now. Is a lot of like arenas or
Oh yeah.
stadiums, you're actually allowed to bring in your reusable water bottle that you maybe drink out of every day, and they will refill it for free.
Absolutely. So these refill stations that we see in arenas and parks
Hmm.
make a huge difference, and I think people have gotten really used to bringing reusable water bottles with them.
Yeah.
I always think of my nibblings, my siblings' children,
Yeah.
and like they are always carrying a water bottle with them everywhere we go. They always have a water bottle, and they're ready to fill it up, and that's what they use, and they never ever consume a single-use plastic bottle. And so you see also a lot of municipalities further supporting that by
Hmm.
introducing essentially bylaws that prevent the sale of those items at arenas.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, for arenas, making sure that you do have appropriate bins to collect the materials that you are selling, like uh, pop or soda
Yeah.
being sold. Make sure you've got bins that are easily accessible, easy to identify that this is where this item needs to go when you're leaving the venue.
And the other thing that should be mentioned too is I was having this conversation with a friend the other day. We were saying, okay, like, do you find that you drink enough water in one day? And I have to be honest with you, I find I drink the most water on those days that I'm in the office because here at Busch, we have water coolers, and
Yeah.
all of us, of course, here are
Yeah.
have our reusable water bottles. And I find that multiple times a day, I'm going to the water station, A, to just go for a walk around the office and get out of my desk for a few minutes,
Yeah.
but B, because I'm more inclined to drink more water, and I think that's something that we're all trying to do.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a doctor that's going to tell you to stop drinking water.
No, most people are not drinking enough water. So drink as much water, and if you can, drink from your tap, and always make sure you're bringing a reusable water bottle wherever you go so you can refill it.
Exactly. And if you're like me, maybe what happens is it's the dead of winter and you forget that you've left your reusable water bottle half full in the car. And then you get in there
Yep.
the next morning and it's ice and you're like, how long is this going to take
Yeah.
until I can drink it? Can I still drink it? Is there an expiry date? Like, what's the word with that, right?
Yeah, I mean, with something in a metal water bottle, you'll be fine for a day or two.
Yeah.
It will be fine.
Good to know. Good to know. So, what sort of messaging do you find works? We often talk about, in our last episode when you were on, we talked about every municipality, every city is going to have a website where they're going to list what can kind of go in, which container, which bin, et cetera, et cetera. But what messaging, and just because, hopefully this will help other people realize, what isn't working, do you find has failed? Whether it's recycling, whether it's waste management specifically, what are people not reacting to positively?
I think we have to step back from those of us who work in the waste management industry that we use terminology that the public does not use. So we use terminology like two-stream or dual-stream recycling. The public does not know what that is.
Yeah, I know.
And for the layperson, that is separating your recycling into usually papers and into containers. That's typically the sort that you see. But to use that terminology, and we're actually seeing that in the province of Ontario right now, where that two-stream terminology is being used, but people don't know what that is. So we really need to step back and really think about, like, would my grandmother know what this term means? Would my grandfather know what this term means? And that is going to make a huge difference. I think whoever is in charge of a waste management system, whether it be at a province, state, municipality, bring in a focus group, bring in people to talk to and see what messaging is resonating with them.
Mm-hmm.
Try out different varieties of messaging. I always remember a phone call I had with a resident who we'd rolled out the green bin program to collect food waste, and she called to explain that she didn't need the green bin because she didn't purchase organic food, and so she didn't need a bin for organics.
Okay.
And we had to clarify that organic and organics are different things. I mean, but so we made us think about that terminology, saying this is the organic bin. It's for food waste. It's not about organic versus not organic. And so just being really open to understanding how people perceive that information and being able to modify your messaging as you go. So even a term like circular economy, it resonates with those of us in the waste management sector.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't understand what the linear economy is, if that terminology is kind of foreign to you, then you're not going to understand why we're trying to move to a circular economy.
Right.
So that is something I just am very conscientious about, of when is that term being used in the public.
And you know what? a line I've heard many times in my life is know your audience, right?
Absolutely.
You have to know who you're talking to. You can't assume anything, but
Nope.
maybe have an understanding of what their background on that might be. Yes, it's up to us to educate ourselves and to do the research, but at the same point, if you're really trying to get that point across, making the language and, like you said, the
Absolutely.
messaging and the signage
Oh, yes.
as easy to understand as possible is only going to benefit everyone, and the people who are coming well after us as well, right?
Hmm.
When it comes to the education and the learning, though, why do you think it is? Because it is. Why do you think it's so hard for so many of us?
I think it's hard because for a lot of people, recycling is kind of magical, right?
Right.
You put things in a bin, you put it out at the end of the driveway, you get home and the bin is empty,
Yeah.
and like you don't, something has happened and you don't
Yeah.
know what that is. So I think those who work in the waste management world, if we can expose people to why we need to sort our waste properly,
Mhm.
where it goes, what happens to it, what it becomes,
Mhm.
people can understand why their efforts at home and at work make a difference.
Right.
So when you're properly sorting at home, it does make a difference down the line.
Hmm.
Um, people have also, because we've been recycling in many places in North America for 30, 40 years,
Yeah.
people just don't know, right?
Yeah.
It's just part of your life, but you don't actually know why you do these
Mhm.
things. And so we need to kind of go back to that messaging around protecting our environment, making our landfill spaces last longer by not having as much go into them.
Mhm.
Almost grassroots around don't litter,
Yeah.
which you would think in 2026, like we would know not to litter, but
Yeah.
it is becoming an issue again. And so we need to remind people about why we're trying to keep our natural environment clean of litter and things like that.
Well, and it's interesting now. I alluded to this in our last episode that we did together, but I'll mention it again because it's an episode that we have coming up. Is the whole concept of litter?
Oh, yeah.
And when I was prepping with this guest about that, she almost painted this visual where it's like people think it's okay to litter if you're on like a back country roads and no one's gonna see ya, or it's only one pop can, or
Yeah.
it's only one McDonald's brown paper bag,
Yeah.
right? But I mean, the impact, right? The
Oh,
impact is just
it's the impact of litter is astonishing, not only in terms of how it impacts the aesthetics of our environment, but it
yeah,
interferes with the natural environment, whether it be animal life, water systems. And then the cost to clean that up
yeah,
is quite astronomical for the taxpayer. I always think with litter, it's interesting. I live in a rural area, and so you have oftentimes a bit of a fight between who did the litter come from? Did it come from a visitor, like a short-term
right.
renter, or did it come from a local? And we need to stop thinking like that and just think this is a person
Yeah.
did this. How do we change that person's perception that this is not something that's accepted in our community or in the entire province or state?
It's one thing I find interesting too in our conversation is I'm always fascinated why people do what they do.
Oh yeah.
And I'm gonna, and I mean, so there's two aspects of this. The one is the people that we're talking about who are maybe littering or not managing their waste as they should. But like, what made you so passionate about waste and waste management? Were you like 4 years old and one day there was a cloud above your head, or like what was it that made you so passionate about waste and recycling and composting and all these things? Like, what's your story in that
I
sense?
mean, my mother worked for the Ministry of Environment
Mhm.
way back, even before I was born. So we always had kind of an environmental leaning in our house.
Yeah.
My background was not in the environment; it was actually in the arts, and I worked for a municipality doing school outreach,
Okay.
and just learning about the waste management system and the amount of thought that goes into managing a landfill site
Mhm.
to ensuring that people have access to recycling, to composting. It kind of blew my mind
Yeah.
that there is, for something that is the afterthought, right? Like
Mhm.
waste is the thing you're throwing away. Who cares about it? Well, actually, a lot of people care about it
Yeah.
and really are being conscientious about how to protect our environment by managing these, which is essentially resources, managing resources that people are throwing away. And I find it very reassuring that people are passionate and dedicated about this topic.
And I love that. And the one thing that I don't know if you can relate to this on this aspect, but I felt like when I was growing up and, again, blue bin, curbside bins were sort of like, coming into a thing of being popular. I feel like I remember like people I went to school with, to be quite honest, not really caring about it, or it was a pain to
Yeah,
have to recycle that pop can after lunch hour in
yeah.
high school. But now, the younger generation often get like slagged for so many things. But one of the things I think that is so beautiful about these people who are like teenagers or even in their early 20s coming up now is many of them really care.
Oh, absolutely.
And they're
Yeah.
they're passionate about it, like much like people like yourselves. Where I think, and I don't know if it's just like the world as a whole or what it is, but I find that so fascinating and wonderful. Obviously, that there's such a large group of people who are coming up now who will be the next waste
Yeah.
management planners, recycling
Oh, yeah.
enthusiasts. That Why do you think that is? Like, why do you think that is? Is it just because of the state of the world, or is it just one of these things where it's like they realize the importance and they realize the impact?
I think partially a realization that small actions do have an impact.
Mhm.
Recognizing that climate change is a major issue, and a very simple, like easy step that you can do yourselves
Yeah.
is to recycle, is to compost, is to sort your waste properly.
Yeah.
So everyone can have a role in kind of impacting something that's a much, much larger issue. And I mean, if you've always grown up with a blue box in your house, it just becomes part and parcel of being able to recycle and just doing
Mhm.
your little part. So as more waste management programs or waste diversion programs are implemented, like a green bin for food waste,
Yeah.
I think you'll see more and more people just willing to embrace that, embrace the change, and sort their waste, trying to reduce the amount that they have going into landfill.
Which is the way that, I mean, truly is the way that it should be,
Yes,
because
yes,
it's only going to make for a greater and a greener future for
absolutely.
everybody.
Yeah.
You also mentioned the fact that you have in the past and maybe currently as well too, went into schools
Hmm.
and had some outreach with the students. I'm really curious when they're that impressionable, when they're that young and they're that inquisitive, what are some of the questions or what are some of the things that they're coming to you with and what's the response?
Yeah, so I mean, school outreach is every municipality, any waste management service provider should be doing school outreach.
Yeah.
Visit schools. They are thirsty for knowledge. They want to know what goes into the blue bin or compost. What does it become? How does it become that? Working with kindergarten students is very, very rewarding because you can do play-based activities to explain recycling and
Hmm.
composting. As you get older, you can make curriculum connections even to how different parts of history, how did they recycle and compost? Because people have been doing it forever, and we
Yeah.
can tie into all this. Um, some of my favorite questions that I've ever had people ask me about is, why don't we launch garbage into space as a way of dealing with it? And that actually can lead us into a great discussion around the amount of space garbage already in space,
Okay.
and how there's actually effort to uh, collect that material because it's actually causing problems.
You're like,
For,
don't do it.
yes, don't do it. It's actually causing problems for space shuttles and whatnot going into space because the amount of
Yeah.
debris in space. So that's always been one of my favorite
Yeah.
questions. Also, what kind of animals do people expect to see at a landfill?
Oh, wow.
And so people always think, obviously, bears. And if you're
Yeah.
in a major metropolis, probably not going to see a bear. But if you're in a rural area, for sure. I've had kids ask about giraffes. Will I see a giraffe? Well, it's not a zoo.
Right, right.
But I mean, children have great questions
Yeah.
about waste management. They understand that things get thrown away at their house, in their classroom, and want to know what becomes of it. And so this is a great opportunity for waste managers to really make a connection and promote recycling and composting.
And start there, right?
Start there,
Start at the
absolutely,
grassroots level, because
absolutely.
then later on down the line, ideally, they're going to implement some of these best practices
Yeah,
and then be able to, help it become an even better world than we're in right now, right?
absolutely.
When it comes to like the technology, we talked about this. We talked a lot about the signage and the messaging and the communication, which is, I know a big part of what you do. Do you find that more people are focusing and paying attention to the signage, or the love-hate relationship that we have with social media? because not everything, believe it or not everything you see on social media is actually true.
Yes.
So do you ever like, what do you feel people are listening to more, and if there's a concern?
Yeah. Um, I think if you're following social media and curious about waste management, look to your service provider, whether it be
Mhm.
your waste management hauler or your municipality. They are the ones that are going to have the most accurate
Yeah.
information. Some random person who has decided something magically is probably not giving you the full picture.
Right.
And I even see this when people see a split truck where one side is for garbage and
Yeah.
the other is for organics. And there's a
Yeah.
wall down the middle,
Mhm.
but people get the perception, oh, it's all going in the same truck. Same truck, different bins. They are
Mhm.
separated. We're not mixing it together. The municipality will tell you that, but some random person may not know that
Yeah.
scenario and give you incorrect information.
So are you saying that I shouldn't go to insert city or town here, concerned citizens
Ye-
on Facebook and listen to what they say?
No, I would definitely go right to the municipal source. They will have the information. And if you have questions, ask your municipality.
Yeah.
They're going to answer you. They want to provide that customer service. They want to make sure that you understand the system and why
Yeah.
and how to participate best. They're not going to shut you down for asking questions. They want to help you out.
You've been working in waste management for a while.
Yep.
I mean, I know you're still 22,
Yeah,
but
totally.
you've been working there for a while. Is if you could redesign waste education from scratch, and it was all John Watson, the John Watson Academy of Waste Design,
Amazing.
what would you do?
I would make sure that there's a lot of outreach to schools, to community groups, to multi-residential apartments, to places of worship.
Mhm.
Ensure that you are doing multi-language approach, recognizing that not everyone is speaking English, Spanish, or French.
Yep.
So really understand the demographics of your community to get that messaging out. Make sure you're using visuals of what people are actually consuming. We see in a lot
Mm,
of recycling bins on public streets, for example, there's always a picture of a newspaper. People don't carry newspapers anymore.
that's true.
So that visual is not helpful. If everyone is consuming a red paper coffee cup, make sure your visual shows where the red paper coffee cup is supposed to go. Don't put a
Right.
white paper coffee cup if
Yes.
no one's consuming a white paper coffee cup. So really, really understand what's in your recycling, in your compost, in your garbage. Do the waste audits to
Mhm.
understand what's appearing where so you can identify those items that people are unsure about what to do and make sure that the materials are specific to the situation. Whether it be a street, a school,
Mhm.
a washroom, an arena,
Yeah.
this is the messaging for this specific material you'll experience in this venue.
And it's interesting that you mentioned that too. First of all, brilliant answer. But it's interesting that you mentioned that you want to make sure that you're putting like this symbolism of what it is that you as a society are consuming, because if it's something that doesn't fit, and that can change quite quickly,
Oh, yes.
then and hence where the updates come in, people just aren't going to pay attention to it, and
Right.
people are not going to listen. So therefore, they're not going to want to implement those sort of best practices or those sort of routines into their daily, management of waste.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Public space recycling, whether it be on the street or in a park, is obviously very challenging because people are walking, they're with kids, they've got grocery bags, they're doing other things. It's a split-second decision about
Yeah.
which bin to put it in. So you want to think about access to bin and like, I've got the coffee cup. I
Yeah.
can see the picture. It goes there.
Yeah.
That's like as simple as you need to make it. And especially with different types of readers,
Yeah.
different languages, is going to work better than a lot of text.
Yeah. Do you think it's that as a society, or whatever city it is that you live in or whatever town you're in, are we lazy? Are we busy? Are we not paying attention? Do we not care? Or is it a mixture of all the things? Or is there one thing that we can point on as to why maybe we're not properly reading that messaging or seeing the symbolism on the
Yeah.
bins and whatnot?
Public space, I think it's not about laziness. It's about distraction.
Right.
Right? You are doing a million things at one time walking down the street and you're just looking for a place to put something.
Yes.
And there is actually a whole thought that maybe in public spaces we reduce the number of bins. so that there isn't just bins everywhere and people can throw it anywhere. You're supposed to kind of take it with you until you get to the final destination, whether it be the parking lot, and you've got maybe more time to think because the kids are now in the car and okay, I can put the coffee cup there.
Yeah.
I think municipalities, service providers need to make sure that in social media, for example, they are regularly telling people how to sort waste. I've talked to some municipalities and it's like, well, we do a post maybe in April about recycling. It's like, no, people throw things out every day, at least once a week. Pick a different item, explain where it should go and why it needs to go there and what happens to it. People will benefit from that information. It gives you 52 different posts a year, but like people will respond to that. And the more in front of the issue you are, people will be able to change their behavior.
That's fantastic too, because I think that, in your role, or really even in like my role doing communications for Busch Systems, it's like you might feel like you're posting the same thing every month, every week or whatever. But I mean, you can't assume that they have necessarily, every person who's following you has seen that post
100%.
Based on the algorithms and all the things that exist out there that are changing all the time. So I think that's it's a great reminder too for anyone who is sort of posting that sort of content online and for who's also reading it.
Absolutely. And every post does not need to be about a plastic pop or soda bottle.
Right.
Like you've got so many things that people throw away. You could easily find 30 or 40 items, and each week different posts on a different item. Talk about reuse, talk about the importance of reusable water bottles, talk about ways about visiting thrift shops and participating in the circular economy of going to reuse, of repair cafes happening in your community. There's so much happening at the grassroots level to keep materials out of landfill, and waste managers at municipalities or counties definitely need to just tap into the expertise that exists in the grassroots and really support those efforts.
Well, you know what? It's been so fun having you back on the podcast. However, I'm not letting you go yet.
All right.
One thing that we're going to do is going to put you through again the Talkin' Trash Fast 5. You may remember from the last time you were here, I'll say something and you just spit out the first thing that comes to your brain, okay?
All right.
So what is a word that you hate hearing?
Synergy.
Okay. What is a food that you think is overrated?
Yikes. Sushi.
Okay. Not a sushi fan.
No, I don't eat anything that swims.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. John, what's a chore you avoid?
Looking after my car.
Oh.
Any car maintenance.
Especially in the winter.
Yes.
Like it's looking pretty ugly on the inside. Not yours,
no,
mine. Lots of salt.
Don't look inside.
Okay. What is a habit of yours that belongs in the trash?
Oh, I'm perfect.
Of course.
Looking at my phone when I'm watching TV.
I can join your club. I can join.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
But maybe the show wasn't interesting enough.
That's true.
Yeah, we'll put it on.
Yeah.
And then lastly, what is something that you throw out instead of fixing?
Well, I'm not a good fixer, but where I live, there's a fantastic repair cafe once a month.
Okay.
So I can bring things to get fixed. I even have a winter jacket right now that I currently have a paper clip in it to do up the zipper because I won't get rid of the jacket even though the zipper's broken. I honestly will keep things even if it's broken.
Okay.
I can't think of anything I'd throw away.
See, you're thinking of the circular economy.
Yes, absolutely.
Which is why you said that. You might have the two zipper thing. You might not be able to zip up that winter jacket when you step outside, but you're thinking of the circular economy. So I can totally appreciate that.
Yeah.
Again, thank you so much, Sean, for joining us here on the podcast today. That is a wrap on this episode of Talkin' Trash with Will Nash. Thank you so much for watching and for listening. If you like what you heard or saw here, you can subscribe, rate us 5 stars only so you do not miss out when another episode drops. Thank you so much for being here.